just talk. Hi, everyone. Welcome to my Zoom room. It's always exciting to have somebody actually in the Zoom room. So with me today is Margaret Reid. Welcome back, Margaret.
Thanks for having me.
Margaret's been here before, but we did a remote interview at that time, and we spoke about some of the things you're involved with within Chilliwack, right? Because you're very involved.
Yes, yes.
Now you've decided, because you don't have enough to do, to run for school trustee, right?
Yes, I have.
I'm just looking at the list of names. It's going to be very exciting.
It is. I think it is.
Yeah, I can't remember the last time I was excited for an election, so I'm really looking forward to this one. So tell me why you put your name forward.
Yeah, so, I'm a parent, and I think I'm a parent first and before everything else. And I'm a student that grew up in this district, so I have both of those experiences. And 4 years ago, I was considering running because, of course, it was pretty contentious. And then I kind of stopped and thought about it. And I thought, at this point, I would just be running against something. I want to know what I stand for. So I spent the last 4 years kind of figuring out my community, where I fit, what my passions are. And in that 4 years, I really watched my children struggle with resources at school. And I watched parents and teachers struggle through COVID. And I learned a lot about food security is my main passion.
Right.
And there's a lot changing in schools with food security. And so everything sort of aligned. And when the election talks kind of started happening, I realized that is absolutely where my passion lies.
That's really cool.
And I've been a Chilliwack politics nut since I was a kid. So I actually I sat as a student liaison when I was in high school.
Oh, nice.
On the policy board, and I followed local elections.
Nice. This is a really, there's so many wonderful changes happening in Chilliwack, and I personally would like to see more.
Yeah.
Right. And I'm sure you would as well.
Sure.
So now, when it comes to being on the school board, what changes do you think can be implemented?
Well, I think one of the main things, so what I've been doing a lot in the past couple of weeks is talking a lot with stakeholders. So learning the perspectives of teachers, parents, different members of the community, different groups that are involved in having a cohesive education plan and a cohesive district.
Right.
And I think one of the things that's really been highlighted by every party is communication, and specifically transparency, and just making it feel like consultation is meaningful. And so that word just kept coming up, meaningful consultation. So people feel heard, but they don't feel like there's action, or they can't follow their action from their consultation. So personally, that's one of the main things I'd like to see change.
Okay. Yeah.
And I would like to work with those groups, teachers and parents. And some of the more contentious topics in the district.
Yeah.
I think that sometimes people don't understand what a school trustee can do. So I would like to educate the public a little bit more on that. But then if somebody doesn't feel heard in the public, maybe we need to look at the policies that parents can use to give feedback.
Okay, right. So what does a school board trustee do?
They have a couple different jobs. The strategic plan is a big one. And they just put out a new strategic plan. They look at policy, they look at procedures, they advocate for the district on behalf of higher parties, with the province and such. They kind of communicate between different stakeholders in the community. They pass the budget.
Okay.
So there's all sorts of things.
Right.
And there are lots of things that we can do to make Chilliwack a better place. Like we can advocate for more funding and bring the needs of marginalized community members forward.
Right. Now, I have heard that there's some people that are currently on the board and will be rerunning that are, I don't know how, they sound very negative to me, but that's just my opinion, right? So if you're coming across something like that, how would you handle it?
So this is a very interesting question, and I've been asked it a few times. And I think that the subtext on that question often is, how would you handle it this past year? But none of us were in that room. I wasn't in that room. I don't know everything that happened behind closed doors. I do know that there was a large variety of personalities present. Have you ever met Jared Mumford? He's
yes.
He's a pretty moderate fella. He's a very calm individual. And I think a lot of candidates will say, well, I'd go in and I'd have a calm tone of voice. And I'd it clearly didn't work. That's not something that worked in that situation. We don't know the dynamics. So I think what we need to do is we need to look forward. We can't focus on what's been happening. We need to elect people who can collaborate and communicate, even if they disagree.
Yes.
We need to focus on people who respect human rights, even if they have disagreements. And then I think that we need to focus on more subjects that bring people together.
Right.
So food security is my passion.
Yes.
Everybody can agree that children need to be fed.
Sure.
The agriculture community is hugely important in Chilliwack.
Oh,
That's
absolutely.
a gap bridging thing. So once people are elected, once we're on that board together, we need to work together.
Right.
So let's start picking topics that we can move forward from.
All right.
And if we keep circling that drain, move on.
Right. Cool. Now, I know that some of the people running are friends of yours.
Yeah.
Right. So there's only so many positions.
Yeah.
So, I mean, how does that feel? Like, you know, it's not like you're running against them, but you're running for that particular spot.
Yeah.
Right. So not everybody's going to get in.
For sure. Yeah. You know, there are a lot of people that are running that I've collaborated with before on projects, and we're really good at communication. We can disagree, we can have debate, we can have that dialogue. I don't think that there's really any mean-spirited or malicious competition between us. I think I would be happy when you approach the election with the goal of bettering your community. I will be happy if at the end of the election, we have had a positive conversation. We've talked about the issues. We've made it clear what the community wants to see moving forward.
Right.
And we have a board that has a diverse skill set and opinion set.
Yes.
And that can work together. Of course, I want to be elected.
Well, absolutely. Why run otherwise, right?
Yeah.
And I love the names that, like, when I saw the names, the list of people, I'm thinking, OMG, you know, this is so awesome. I really think it's awesome. Now, how do you get people, like, obviously I don't have children in school. I didn't grow up here. I don't have grandchildren here or anything like that. But so how do you get people like me? I will be voting, but how do you get people like me to vote who wouldn't normally be out there voting?
You need to really highlight the fact that public education benefits us all. We need all of those people that come out of the public school system. We need doctors and teachers and lawyers, and we need people that are educated. We need a general population that's educated.
Right.
But beyond that, I think some of those broader scale issues, because if you have candidates talking about how we're feeding children,
yes,
I think that really moves people's hearts. If you're talking about mental health, if you're talking about learning outcomes, if you're talking about reconciliation. So I noticed, like, we all have all of the 5 progressive candidates that I have connected with the most. We have such a broad skill set,
yes,
a broad set of understandings and experiences and knowledge. And I think that everybody kind of has something that engages with people that don't have kids.
Right. Yeah, that's true too. And I guess I think about like Amber Price, who I know right now. She's going to be on the show. A businesswoman, has been in Chilliwack for a long time. A mother, right? And so she has that sort of thing, just like you do. You have all of that thing, and she's been very involved with the community, as is Karen. Yeah. Bondar. And I don't know. I mean, I know Terry, but I don't know much about her background sort of thing when it comes to children or stuff like that. Not that matters. I mean, you don't have to have children, right, to be on the school board or to come with a mindset, like you said, of working together to bring forward what the community needs in whatever form that is, right?
Right. Well, Terry is a wonderful community advocate. He is the president of the Pride Society, and he works in the education system a lot with the Gender Support Network and things like that. So I think that I also work with him on food security and general political awareness and things like that. I've seen him work in a lot of ways building community. I don't think that every member of the board needs to have children.
No, I agree. Yeah.
But I do think that everybody that's on the board should have an invested interest in public education. Right. And come from different, I think it's good when you're coming from different points of view, right? Yeah, absolutely. And I think that sometimes there's this thing where people think that all progressive candidates come from the same point of view, and we really don't. Yeah. We disagree on things. We approach with different perspectives and different experience. As a trans man, Terry has a completely different understanding than I do, even though I'm a queer woman that grew up in the community. Right. So I think it's important to just understand that. And we do want to elect a broad variety of people. Yes. We want that difference of opinion. We want to be able to have collaborative and vibrant dialogue. Right? Yes. Now, as somebody who just lives here, who's not part of any kind of political scene, I love to see things when they're moving forward. And like, I love
being part of the Pride Parade, I was picking up garbage and I didn't mind, because it was a wonderful event. I like to see that all inclusive. I really enjoy all of that. And I'm hoping that as well as this part of the school board, you're not totally into that. Like, that's not totally your job, right? But to see all of those things that are been moving forward, to continue to move forward.
There's so much space to move forward. And I think that is really what we need to focus on. I'm a parent and I'm really sick of the same issues just cycling through, and bullying and harassment and yelling and screaming. And I think that there's people that aren't being heard.
Right.
We need to help them feel heard, but maybe in a more productive way that doesn't hijack education and belittle members of the board and bully them. I think that there are maybe modes to have these conversations away from the board that needs to get work done.
Right.
Because there's work that needs to be done.
For sure. And one of the things I've experienced, like I've been on a number of councils, and there's so often that one person whose agenda is different from everybody else's, and people don't always know how to deal with that person. And it just becomes like a mess. Right. And people quit, and I'm not working with this person, blah, blah, blah. So how would you deal with that type of situation? Because you don't want to antagonize anybody. That's not what you're there for. Right.
Well, I think it's a fine line, because some of the behavior that we've seen is bullying and harassment, and I never stand for that. And I absolutely would not stand for that. That said, I think that I have, a pretty demonstrated ability to work with different members of the community. In the food security world, there are a lot of churches and a lot of agriculture community members and a lot of people that maybe don't necessarily identify with pride and that sort of thing. And we've found ways to work together. I've worked with people in community that have in the past maybe yelled at me online or we had a heated disagreement. So again, I think that we just need to keep coming back to projects that unite us. Once you're elected, you're there for 4 years together.
Yes.
And when you serve together, you build mutual empathy.
Right. Why not try your best to work together, right?
Absolutely.
One of the things, again, I observed, I moved here in 1995, and it was very, one of the things was, Chilliwack has the most number of churches, whatever, and which is okay. I'm not talking anything against, sorry, but I have my own view on that. But anyway, for me, it was very restrictive at that time. So, and I'm sure because you've been part of it, to see how much has changed since that time.
Absolutely.
Right?
Absolutely. I think that one thing that was lacking was secular community. And again, no knock on churches. I actually studied religious studies in university a little bit from a secular point of view, and studied with leaders of faith because I wanted to understand my community members better. And I do work with a lot of faith community members. But I think that we were lacking that secular community where people could feel connected.
Yes.
And social media has done a lot of that connection, and it's wonderful. And the fact that you can go downtown now and you'll see people from different communities, and people in those faith communities are also connected in. So it's kind of like our worlds are crossing a little bit more.
Yes.
And as we do that, we start to understand each other better.
Right. Now, one of the things I'm hoping for that happened, that's not going to happen like last time, that there was some mudslinging. And I think that my position is, if you have to put somebody down in order to get voted, I will never vote for you ever. So hopefully that won't happen this time. Right.
I'm very hopeful. I was a volunteer on Karen's campaign. And actually I was witness to some of the things that came in her inbox that maybe that the public on social media that maybe the public didn't see. And it's absolutely ridiculous. And obviously, one of the things that's really shocking to me is that the women candidates seem to be getting it a lot more. I've checked in with a lot of the male candidates, and I'd say it's exponentially worse for women. But then when people see that happening, sometimes there's that pushback moment. And I think that's really hopeful. I think that a lot of the support Karen received in the face of that, I think it healed. I think it healed things. I think I think that it did. I think that we feel like we're moving forward.
Right. And she got, sorry to interrupt you. She got people went out and voted who wouldn't have voted before.
Oh, absolutely. It backfired.
Yes.
Whoever was trying to do that, it backfired. I think that we just need to stand on the merit of our own platforms and our own experience. I'm very hopeful. I really want to see collaboration, and I want to see our students served, and I want to see parents and teachers heard. And I just want to continue to say those things.
Yeah.
And, you know, I've learned a lot since the last election. I've argued with some people online before, and I've had those heated discussions, and nobody's nice all of the time. And we've all said things.
Right.
And I would just say that, like, serving the community through COVID and the flood, and in some small way through wildfires and inflation and housing costs and feeding people, I've learned a lot about how to move in those spaces and have those difficult conversations in productive ways, and to hold space for different opinions without infringing on human rights. And I think a lot of people have. I think a lot of people have.
Yeah, I really believe you're, because, you know, when you talk about the women, what happens to women, like, I can't help but think about what's going on in the US, and women are always a target, always through history, you know, and it's good when it doesn't happen, because what was it? There's a saying that if a woman is productive, the whole village is productive. Right. Yeah. You know, because as a mother, you know that if you're doing well, your children are doing well, your husband's doing well, and so that spreads out to the whole community.
Well, and education for women and girls in other countries is a huge factor in success and a drive in moving forward. And so I think how that translates to our community is looking even a little bit further. So education for marginalized groups. So if we have students that are underperforming, children in care is a huge one. Looking at the stats, and we know that a lot of Indigenous students struggle, and there's kind of a broader conversation about that now. And then I think like there's that intersection there as well with children in care. And that's something people maybe don't necessarily think about. And so, yeah, we need to really focus on uplifting those that need it most. And I think everybody else comes up from there, right?
Yes, exactly. I think the positive creates more positivity.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah. And sometimes positivity is setting a healthy boundary and saying, we will not do that in this space. We need to be a safe space. We need to, and I don't mean that in like the internet way. I mean that in a literal sense. How can we enter a room and discuss reconciliation if you're standing next to somebody that you think might say something hurtful, racist, or violent, right?
Yes.
So we need to be able to set those boundaries and be respectful and communicate in ways that are productive. Right? Yeah, absolutely. Well, we're going to end it there. I hope we got everything out, that all the questions asked and answered, and you know. Anyway, thank you very much for doing this. Well, thank you.
I really appreciate it. Thank you everybody for tuning in. You know, it's really good to hear what the candidates have to say, and remember to get out there and vote. I called in for a mail-out vote because, like, I don't drive, so you know. But there's ways, if you can't get out, there's ways to find out how. Just go on the website for City Hall, or call City Hall. If you don't have internet, well, if you don't have internet, you're not watching this, so never mind. So anyway, sorry everybody. So finally, I just want to say, be nice, everybody, and peace out. Now I got to find the off button.
A sense of community, Chilliwack's a place to be. A sense of community where you're free. Rolling through the mountains, rolling through the valley, rolling through paradise with me. It's multicultural, you're sure to see it all. Chilliwack's the place to be, you'll see. Come party in the park, go dancing after dark. Chilliwack's the place to be, you'll see.